The millionaire CEO flatlined, and the nurse who revived him was the one he once let go. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is now. Subscribe to the channel and let's get started. The clinic thrummed with urgency, voices sharp, monitors humming. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands steady with a chart. Her brown eyes, warm but guarded, flicked to the stretcher, rolling in. A man, pale, chest barely rising. Heart attack. She seized the defibrillator, swift as a weaver at her loom. "Clear," she called, voice calm but firm. The machine whined, the man's body jolting. A child's cry, a nurse's shout pierced the antiseptic sting. Rachel's focus held, pressing the paddles again. Another shock. His pulse stirred, faint but there. She stepped back, wiping her brow. The man's face, half masked by oxygen, sharpened into focus. Ethan Blake. The name cut deep, a blade through still water. His signature had ended her career, stealing her dreams. Her braid brushed her shoulder as her hand gripped the chart, a tether to old wounds. He was a patient now, nothing more. "Stabilize him," she told the team, tone clipped. She adjusted his IV, fingers brushing his wrist. Cool, fragile. The touch lingered, a ripple in her heart. She turned away, grabbing another chart, pulse thumping, betraying her calm. Ethan stirred, eyelids fluttering. A nurse checked vitals, but Rachel caught his gaze. Blue eyes, clouded with pain, locked on hers. "Rachel!" he rasped, a thread in the chaos. Her breath caught. How did he know her name? The chart slipped in her grip. "Rest now," she said, voice forced steady. She nodded to the nurse who wheeled Ethan to the ICU. The doors swung shut and Rachel exhaled, memory heavy in the air. She moved to the next patient, hands reaching for a bandage, duty her shield. In the break room, she sank into a chair, the clinic's pulse muffled. A faded photograph on the wall, a child grinning under a village lantern, tugged at her, a faint ache of lost pride. She shook it off, sipping bitter coffee, eyes on the clock. The head nurse leaned in, clipboard steady, voice brisk. "Blake's stable, asking for you." Rachel's cup paused. She set it down, ceramic clinking. "I'm with another patient," she lied, voice smooth. The nurse nodded and left, her rhythm fading into the ward's hum. Rachel's fingers smoothed her scrubs, a gesture from childhood, now a map of harder losses. She returned to the ward, steps quick through the rush. A mother's prayer, a soft cough, each sound grounded her, pulling her to the present. But Ethan's voice, that faint "Rachel," clung like a shadow. Did he know her from that old life? Or was it chance, a name murmured in delirium? At shift's end, she paused by the ICU doors. Through the glass, Ethan lay still, tubes snaking from his arm. His face, softer in sleep, held no trace of the CEO who'd signed her ruin. She turned away, steps light on the linoleum. The night air met her outside, cool, carrying the scent of jasmine from a nearby stall. Rachel walked home, the city's hum fading into her thoughts. Ethan's murmur echoed, a secret half heard, like a shadow slipping through dawn's light. She didn't know why he'd said her name, but it stirred something deep, a ripple in her heart's stream. Tomorrow she'd face him again. For now, the jasmine and the stars carried her forward, one step at a time. The clinic pulsed with morning urgency, voices sharp, monitors humming. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands grabbing a syringe, the antiseptic sting sharp in her nose. Ethan Blake's chart sat on the counter, his name a weight in her chest. His murmured Rachel from yesterday clung, a blade through her calm. How did he know her? She'd avoided his room, duty warring with old wounds. But the chart called. She flipped it open, stable but weak. Her eyes caught the emergency contact. Margaret Blake. The name struck, a stone in still water. Margaret, the frail woman Rachel had cared for months ago, her coughs echoing in quiet nights. Her braid brushed her shoulder as her hand tightened, a tether to her past. Ethan's mother. She'd tended her with gentle words, never knowing the thread to her own ruin. "Carter, you're on Blake," the head nurse called, clipboard steady, voice slicing through a child's cry. A phone's ring. Rachel nodded, face a mask. She slipped into Ethan's room. The monitors hummed soft. He lay propped up, blue eyes clearer, tracking her as she checked his IV. His tailored coat hung limp on a chair, a ghost of the man who'd signed her dismissal. "You're Rachel," he said, voice rough but sure. Her pulse spiked, but her hands stayed steady, adjusting the drip. "Rest, Mr. Blake," she said, tone cool, eyes on the monitor. You need it. He shifted, wincing. I know you from before. Her breath caught, but she grabbed a bandage. You're confused, it happens. The lie was smooth, but her heart thrummed, loud as the ward outside. She moved to leave, but his hand grazed her wrist, weak but deliberate. I'm not confused, he said, softer, gaze heavy with something unspoken, soft as candlelight. She pulled free, the touch lingering like a ripple. I have other patients. She strode out, the door hissing shut. The ward's rhythm swallowed her, a soft cough grounding her. Ethan's words clung, heavy as damp air. In the supply closet, she leaned against a shelf, gauze and iodine grounding her. Her mind spun. Before, the finance firm, reports piled high, dreams of rising. Then Ethan's signature, shattering it all. She'd been a scapegoat, her name smeared. Now he lay in her care, his mother's coughs echoing in memory. She grabbed supplies and plunged back, bandaging a boy's knee, her smile warm but fleeting. The boy's mother thanked her, voice thick. Rachel nodded, steps quick, duty her anchor. But Ethan's presence tugged, relentless. At noon, she slipped into the break room, the faded photograph on the wall, a child under a village lantern staring back. It pulled at her, a shadow of her old dreams. She poured coffee, steam curling, and checked the patient log. Margaret's name appeared, a follow-up months ago. Rachel's care had kept her stable, a quiet gift. She hadn't known Margaret was Ethan's mother, a thread woven before his collapse. Carter, Blake's asking for you again, a nurse said, leaning in. Rachel's cup clinked. She stood, fingers smoothing her scrubs, a steady gesture. I'll check later, she said, voice calm. The nurse shrugged and left. Rachel returned to the ward, weaving through patients. A mother's prayer, a voice, each sound tethered her. But Ethan's gaze, his certain, I know you, lingered like a shadow. Did he remember her from that old life? Or was it guilt, stirring now that he faced fragility? She paused by his door, peering through the glass. He sat up, staring at the ceiling, hands restless on the blanket. The man who'd ended her career looked smaller, power stripped. She turned away, steps light, and threw herself into the next task, checking vitals, soothing a child. As her shift ended, the clinic quieted, the city's pulse seeping through windows. Rachel lingered by the counter, Ethan's chart in hand. Margaret's name stared back, a silent truth unspoken. Her care for his mother, her saving his life, they tied them in ways neither had named. It was a secret held in the ward's hush, like a song caught in the throat. She stepped outside, the city lights flickering, guiding her home, one step at a time. The clinic pulsed with morning urgency, voices sharp, monitors humming. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands swift with a chart. Ethan Blake's chart waited, unavoidable, his name a weight in her chest. His words yesterday, I know you, still echoed, cracking her calm. She'd kept her distance, heart taut, but duty called. Her braid brushed her shoulder as she grabbed the chart, a tether to old wounds. Stable, stronger. Out soon. The ward stirred. A child's cry, a phone's ring. Rachel slipped into Ethan's room, face a mask. He sat up, blue eyes sharp, no longer clouded. His tailored coat hung folded, a ghost of old power. She checked his IV, hands steady, but his gaze bore into her, heavy as a storm's gust. Rachel Carter, he said, voice low, deliberate. The analyst, fired 5 years ago. Her pulse spiked, but her fingers didn't falter, adjusting the drip. You're mistaken, she said, tone clipped, eyes on the monitor. The lie was thin, and she knew it. I'm not, he said, leaning forward, wincing. I signed the order. Your name. I didn't forget. The air thickened, the room's hum fading. Rachel set the chart down, movements slow. Rest, Mr. Blake. You're here to heal, not dig up the past. He shook his head, hands gripping the blanket. I need to say this. I was wrong. I didn't question it. You're firing. I should have. Her breath caught a pebble in a still pond. She met his eyes. Regret flickered there, raw, soft as candlelight. She wanted to snap, let the hurt spill, but her lips stayed sealed. Professionalism, a fragile shield. It's done, she said, voice a whisper. Focus on getting better. She strode out, the door hissing shut. The word's rhythm engulfed her, a soft cough grounding her. Ethan's admission clung, a weight in her chest. Wrong. He'd said it. Plain, but it didn't erase the years she'd rebuilt. In the break room, she sank into a chair, the faded photograph on the wall, a child under a village lantern staring back. It tugged at her, a shadow of her old dreams. Her mind replayed Ethan's words. He hadn't questioned her firing. Neither had she, too stunned to fight. A nurse burst in, breathless. "Carter, you're needed in 12. Rachel nodded, shoving the memory down. She grabbed her stethoscope and plunged back, steps quick, hands swift with a chart. A fevered patient, a worried mother. She moved through it, her smile soft, reassuring, grounding her in the present. At noon, she paused by the supply closet, the scent of gauze steadying her. Ethan's regret had cracked something, a truth she'd buried. She'd been a scapegoat, dreams traded for another's climb. Now he sat in her care, power stripped, guilt laid bare. She returned to the ward, weaving through patience. A mother's prayer, a voice, each sound tethered her, but Ethan's face lingered, softer, reshaped by his words. She checked a chart, fingers smoothing her scrubs, when the head nurse called, clipboard steady. "Blake's asking for you again." Rachel's hand paused. "I'll check later," she said, voice smooth. The nurse nodded and moved on. Rachel threw herself into the next task, bandaging a cut, soothing a child. Heart unsteady. As her shift wound down, she lingered by the ICU's glass doors. Ethan sat inside, staring out the window, the city's pulse faint beyond. His shoulders, once rigid, slumped as if unburdened. She turned away, steps light, and slipped into the break room. The photograph caught her eye, his child's grin a mirror of lost hope. She poured coffee, steam curling, and sat, the chair creaking. Ethan's regret had shifted something, subtle but piercing. He wasn't just the man who'd ended her career. He saw her now, not a name on a form, but the nurse who'd saved him. It changed how she saw him, like a familiar face softened under starlight. The clinic's hum faded as she stood, grabbing her bag. Outside, the city lights flickered, guiding her home. Rachel walked, Ethan's words a quiet echo, a truth unspoken no longer. Tomorrow she'd face him, his discharge nearing. For now, the lights in the night carried her forward, one step at a time. The clinic pulsed with morning urgency, voices sharp, monitors humming. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands checking a chart, Ethan Blake's admission, his regret over her firing, lingering, a pebble in her heart stream. She'd avoided his room since, mind restless. Her braid brushed her shoulder as she grabbed his chart, a tether to old wounds. Stable, nearly discharged. Duty called. She slipped into his room, the monitor's hum soft. Ethan sat by the window, blue eyes clearer, a simple jacket loose on his frame. She adjusted his IV, movements swift, but his presence pulled, warm and unsteady. "You're good at this," he said, voice low, no CEO's edge. "It's my job," she replied, eyes on the drip, tone cool but fraying. His regret had cracked her shield, stirring warmth as she resisted. She turned to leave, but he spoke. "I meant it. I was wrong." Her pulse spiked. She paused, chart in hand, and met his eyes. Guilt flickered there, soft as a candle's flicker. "It's done," she said, voice barely steady. "Focus on healing." She strode out, the door hissing shut, a child's cry, a nurse's call swallowing her. Outside, Ethan sat in a cab, eyes steady, pen idle. Rachel's face, guarded, strong, haunted him. He'd signed her dismissal without a glance, costing her everything. Now her care had saved him. Guilt gnawed, sharp as the city's murmur. He pulled his phone, voice clipped. "Find out what happened. Carter's firing, now." Back at the clinic, Rachel plunged into work, steps quick, bandaging a cut, soothing a fevered brow. The faded photograph in the break room, a child under a village lantern, caught her eye, a quiet reminder of her parents' pride. Ethan's words echoed, his regret a mirror to her buried hurt. She'd been scapegoated, dreams shattered. Yet here she rebuilt, one patient at a time. Ethan's call came fast. A contact confirmed. Rachel was innocent. Mark Hensley, a superior, had pinned his error on her, climbing while she fell. Ethan's jaw tightened. Hensley's firm had ties to a foundation, perfect for funding Rachel's dream, a mobile health center. He dialed again. "Push funding through, anonymous, community health project. Use Hensley's channels, but he gets no credit. Start a review of his past deals." Rachel, unaware, moved through the ward, fingers smoothing her scrubs. A nurse called, "Carter, new patient in 8. She nodded, grabbing a chart, her smile gentle, brief for a worried mother. Ethan's softened gaze lingered. His quiet effort lit a spark she didn't trust, a shift in her heart. He wasn't just the man who'd ruined her, he was trying to make it right. At noon, she slipped into the supply closet, gauze steadying her. Ethan's regret stirred hope she didn't trust. She returned to the ward, weaving through patience. A mother's thanks, a soft voice. Each sound tethered her. Ethan lingered nearby, jacket loose, demeanor quieter, as if unburdened. In his penthouse, Ethan paced, gaze steady. The funding was set, millions for Rachel's vision, channeled through Hensley's firm to turn her betrayal into justice. Hensley wouldn't know the project's heart was Rachel's, and the review would expose his past, a quiet reckoning. Rachel's dream, from an old report, drove him, a chance to rebuild what he'd broken. Rachel's shift ended, the clinic quieter. She lingered by the counter, a memo catching her eye. Anonymous funding for a mobile health center. Her breath caught, her dream real. The donors linked to Hensley's firm stung, a shadow of betrayal. The head nurse, clipboard steady, passed by, her brisk nod, a familiar rhythm. Rachel grabbed her bag, stepping outside. The evening breeze carried the city's hum, soft and fleeting. Rachel walked home, thoughts spinning. Hensley's name, tied to her dream's revival, wove Ethan's act into her old wounds. She didn't know his hand behind it or the review he'd sparked to hold Hensley accountable, but the hope it stirred felt fragile, a thread tied to a memory unnoticed before. Tomorrow she'd face Ethan, his discharge looming. For now, the breeze in the city's pulse carried her forward, one step at a time. The clinic's rhythm softened, a hum of voices in motion. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands tracing a blueprint. The mobile health center's funding, her dream tied to Hensley's name, buzzing in her mind. Ethan Blake's regret, his softened gaze stirred her heart, a ripple she resisted. Her braid brushed her shoulder as she set his file aside, a tether to hope she guarded. Discharge tomorrow. Duty steadied her. She slipped into his room, the air quiet, no monitors humming. Ethan stood by the window, a simple jacket loose, no trace of old power. She reviewed his status, hands swift, but his presence tugged, warm and unsteady. "You're cleared tomorrow," she said, voice clipped, eyes on the paper. "Thanks to you," he said, turning, voice low, no CEO's edge. "Not just for this," he gestured, her care, her skill, her unspoken forgiveness. Her breath hitched, her shield fraying. "It's my job." She turned to leave, but his words held her. "I'm helping with the health center. If you'll let me." She froze, paper slipping. Her dream, now real. His offer cracked her guard. "Why?" she asked, voice unsteady, meeting his eyes. Guilt and something deeper flickered, like a lantern's glow in dawn. "Because I owe you," he said simply. She nodded, lips tight, and strode out, the door hissing shut. The ward's rhythm faded, her focus shifting to the mobile unit outside. She plunged into work, tending a fevered brow, her smile tentative, warming. Duty anchored her, but his words moved the ground beneath, a flicker of trust in his quiet effort. Outside, Ethan met the foundation's head, eyes steady, no pen spinning. The funding was secure, Rachel's vision intact. Her face, guarded strong, drove him. He'd broken her once, now he'd build with her. A call confirmed the first patient, Margaret Blake, his mother. His heart lurched. Rachel had cared for her months before his collapse, her kindness a thread he'd missed. At the clinic, Rachel pored over plans with the project lead, fingers smoothing her scrubs. The mobile unit would serve the underserved, her dream taking shape. Ethan joined, suggestions gentle, his focus a steady anchor. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing, fragile as a breeze over rice fields. His hand lingered near hers on the blueprint, stirring her, yet she feared trusting again, a wound still tender, though she let the spark linger, held close. At noon, she slipped into the break room, the blueprint's lines holding her parents' pride, reborn. A volunteer mentioned Hensley's firm, a funding conduit, unaware of Rachel's past. Ethan's quiet nod confirmed he'd ensured Hensley's ignorance. His review of Hensley's deals underway to prevent future harm. Closure settled, quiet but sure. The ward called and Rachel dove back, moving swiftly, tending a child's cut. A mother's thanks, a child's laugh, each tethered her. Ethan reviewed plans nearby, his gaze on her, warm, no longer distant. She felt it, a shift in her chest, like a stream finding a new path. As her shift ended, Rachel lingered by the blueprint, Ethan joining her. "This could reach thousands," he said, voice soft, their shoulders close. The first patient's name caught her eye. Margaret Blake. Her breath caught. Ethan's mother, the woman she'd cared for, her coughs a memory from quiet nights. The head nurse, clipboard steady, passed by, her brisk nod a familiar rhythm. "You didn't know," Ethan said, reading her face. "You helped her before you saved me." The truth landed, piercing but gentle. Rachel's care had touched his family, a bond woven before his collapse. It sealed a wound in him, but unveiled a deeper rift in her, how their lives had tangled, unseen. She grabbed her bag, stepping outside. The tamarind tree's shade cooled the air, its leaves rustling softly, the city's murmur faint beyond. Rachel walked home. Ethan's help, his mother's care, the health center weaving a fragile thread. Hensley's shadow was gone, her dream free, his accountability assured. Tomorrow they'd build together, their past a weight now shared. For now, the tamarind's shade and the city's hum carried her forward, one step at a time. The clinic's pulse had faded, yielding to a quiet hum. Rachel Carter moved through it, hands checking the mobile health center's supplies. The scent of fresh paint drifted from the unit outside, mingling with the tamarind's branches, casting a dappled calm. Her heart, stirred by Ethan Blake's offer and Margaret's care, flowed steadier now. His presence, steady, close, wove them tighter, a bond forged in silent moments. She stepped outside, noon sun glinting off the mobile unit's frame. Volunteers bustled, tent flaps rustling, setting up for the opening. Ethan stood near the entrance, a simple jacket loose, eyes scanning the crowd. Rachel approached, clipboard a shield, her braid brushing her shoulder as she paused, a tether to hope now blooming. Her pulse quickened at his glance, warm, unguarded, soft as starlight's gleam. "Almost ready," he said, voice low, a faint smile breaking through. "You did this, Rachel?" She shook her head, lips tight. "We did." Her voice was soft, firm, eyes meeting his. Their work, her dream, his redemption, hung fragile as a breeze over rice fields. She checked a supply list, but his hand brushed her arm, light, deliberate. "Can we talk? Before this starts?" he asked, tone earnest, almost pleading. She nodded, fingers tracing the clipboard's edge, and they stepped to the clinic's garden, a bench under a tamarind tree. A bird's call pierced the air, sharp and fleeting. Rachel sat, clipboard on her lap, waiting. Ethan settled beside her, shoulders relaxed, eyes on the ground. "I didn't just owe you for the past," he began, voice rough but steady. "I owed you for showing me what I'd lost." He paused, gaze lifting. "Margaret, my mother. I hadn't seen her in years. Too busy, too. Gone. You cared for her when I didn't, before you even knew who I was." Rachel's breath caught, the bird's call echoing. Margaret's coughs, frail hands, quiet gratitude flooded back. Nights offering water, words hope. She hadn't known Margaret was Ethan's mother, or that her care would bind them. Her eyes flicked to Ethan, his face stripped of the CEO's mask. "I didn't know," she said, voice a whisper. "I just did my job." He shook his head, smile faint. "You gave her dignity. You gave me a chance to see her again." His voice cracked, eyes distant, the city's whisper beyond. Her words stirred him, her strength a mirror to the heart he'd buried. "I thought success was everything. I was wrong." The words landed, gentle but piercing, like moonlight on a lotus pond. Rachel's heart stirred, her shield crumbling. His words, once sharp, now held her gently, a change she couldn't deny. She'd saved Ethan's life, his mother's comfort, and now they stood on something new. The past, his guilt, her hurt, lightened, a shadow in the tamarind's calm. "I was angry for so long," she admitted, voice low. "You signed that paper. I lost everything. My parents' pride, my future. But this," she gestured to the mobile unit, doors open, ready. "It's not about you anymore. It's about them." Ethan nodded, eyes meeting hers raw. "I don't want to be that man again. I want to be here, with you, building this." His hand hovered near hers, a hesitant warmth, their fingers brushing, a pull toward his warmth she felt deeply. The air stilled, the bird's call gone. Rachel's pulse thrummed, trust and fear mingling. She stood, clipboard in hand. "Let's get to work." The ceremony began, the crowd's murmur rising. Families, some Rachel had tended, filled the tents, their presence a quiet echo of her care. The head nurse, joined by her aide, coordinated volunteers, her brisk rhythm tying the clinic to the unit's promise. Rachel and Ethan stood side by side, her smile radiant, welcoming. The mobile unit gleamed, Margaret Blake stepping forward, man but steady, eyes bright. She clasped Rachel's hand, whispering, "Thank you, dear." Ethan approached Margaret, their eyes meeting. A quiet word, a shared glance, a bridge mended by Rachel's care. They moved through the event, Rachel checking supplies, Ethan guiding volunteers, their rhythm seamless, like a folk melody. A child's laugh, a mother's thanks. Each sound tethered Rachel, but Ethan's garden words echoed, a gentle reckoning. She'd sought justice, found purpose, a man who saw her as the heart of this dream. A volunteer mentioned Hensley's firm, a funding conduit. Ethan's nod confirmed he'd ensured Hensley's ignorance. A review exposing his past wrongs, his errors now under scrutiny by his peers. The shadow lifted, Rachel's dream free. As sun dipped, the crowd thinned. Rachel stood by the unit's edge, leaves whispering, Ethan beside her, jacket draped casually. "This is what matters," he said, voice quiet. "Not boardrooms. This." She nodded, heart open, a faint smile breaking. "It's a start." The truth settled. What she'd sought, her worth, wasn't in the past, but in the lives they'd touched together, a path to an unexpected home. The bird called again, distant, its song a thread in the evening's hush. The morning sun gleamed off the Carter and Blake Hope Center's mobile unit. Doors opened for the ribbon cutting. Rachel Carter moved through the setup, hands guiding volunteers, the scent of fresh paint mingling with a faint jasmine hum from a nearby stall. Her heart, a stream now calm, flowed with purpose. Ethan stood nearby, a simple jacket loose, blue eyes warm, no CEO's distance. Their shared work, her dream, his redemption, had woven them close, a bond sealed in quiet vows. The crowd gathered, families murmuring, tent flaps rustling. Margaret's smile, volunteers' hands and families Rachel had tended, wove the center's hope, their efforts a quiet echo of her care. Rachel stepped to the podium, voice steady, welcoming all. Ethan joined, shoulders brushing, his presence solid. His laugh, woven with the center's hope, now hers to hold, warmed her, a quiet realization of love. Her braid brushed her shoulder as she smiled, a tether to healing. Margaret Blake, steady now, stood near, her smile mirroring the center's hope. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ethan began, voice clear, cutting through the hum. "This center is a promise, to serve, to heal. But I stand here because of a mistake." The crowd stilled. Rachel's breath caught. "I wronged Rachel Carter. I signed her dismissal, never questioning it. She lost everything. Yet she saved my life, my mother's care, and built this." He gestured to the unit, gaze on her, raw like a lantern's glow at dawn. "I'm sorry, Rachel. I'm here to make it right." The crowd gasped, but Rachel's heart swelled, his words a balm. He turned, dropping to one knee, a ring glinting. "Marry me, Rachel. Be my partner. Here and always." The crowd blurred, Jasmine grounding her. "Yes," she whispered, voice thick, smile wide, alight with love. The crowd cheered, Margaret nodding, her hand touching Ethan's arm. "You brought us together, Rachel," she said, voice soft, tying their healing to her care. Rachel's eyes held Ethan's, a vow like hands clasped under a village sky. The ribbon fell, the center alive with laughter, children darting, patients filing in. Rachel guided families, heart light. Ethan stayed close, his laugh soft, eyes steady, aiding a volunteer. Margaret clasped Rachel's hand, whispering, "You've given us both back." Ethan smiled, a man remade by love and purpose. As dusk settled, the crowd thinned, and Rachel slipped to the nearby beach, waves sighing, stars faint. Ethan joined, steps matching hers, the jasmine scent faint on the breeze they shared. She paused, sand underfoot, and turned, smile playful. "If you'd known who I was back then," she said, voice light, "would you still have signed that paper?" Ethan's eyes crinkled, smile warm. "If I'd known you'd bring me back to life, I'd have asked you to stay, not leave." She laughed, free like a bird's call at dawn. Her parents' pride, once lost, now lived in the center's light, her worth reclaimed. His fingers laced with hers a steady warmth. They walked, waves rhythm gentle, their past lifted. The center's lights glowed behind, a beacon of their dream. Hensley's fall, his errors laid bare to his peers, freed her fully, leaving only their triumph, a freedom wholly hers. Rachel's heart flowed, not with guilt or regret, but with purpose. Ethan's presence was a partner, not a shadow. They'd built a life, her worth reclaimed, his soul found. The stars were faint, the waves endless, their steps sure, a melody of trust. They paused, horizon wide. Rachel leaned into him, fingers smoothing her scrubs, breath and exhale. Margaret's smile, the center's hum, their shared vow held them. Tomorrow they'd build more, heal more, love more. For now the beach and jasmine held them, hands clasped, hearts a shared dawn. No twist, no shadow, just peace, like a village stream finding its way, touched by a love built from rubble, strong and true. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that hope can be found in the most surprising moments, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heartwarming Love Story. We bring you stories that touch the soul, renew your belief in kindness, and highlight what's truly important in life.